Your intro is Millennial First Lady, and when I was doing research, I was just like play. It's such an interesting experience. You being in such a position of influence, and of course, the narrative is the fact that you're really, really young, and it means that that position with the mindset you have, people just have a different expectation from you, and you're first lady. And you're also, coming in as a new generation first lady. When your husband told you that he was going to be running for governor, what was your first reaction? How did you feel about that?
When he told me he was going to run, like he has always said to me that he was going to be the governor of Imo State. So I've always had that up in my head that, one day this is going to happen. And he wanted to have a chance to change the narrative around governance. So before now, he always used to tell me, look at my ideas, this is what I'm going to do. So it didn't come as a shock at all. I felt it was just time for him to fulfill his purpose. And I'm grateful to God that his dreams have come true. And I know he will do better and he'll do good.
Yeah. Because I know that it's really new. It just began in January. So it's kind of a thing where you're just beginning to take off, and in so many ways, really trying to figure out what projects that you're going to have as First Lady, which we're going to get to. And you've been so gracious to share that with us. But what has been the experience like? You guys have been together for a while, and he was a politician before. But as a younger woman, being married to someone who's a politician, how is that experience like? What is it like for you?
Okay, before I got married, I was a private person. So getting married to a man who is much older, and he has his family, he has his political family, it was a bit tasking, because you have to, even when you're not in the mood, you have to see people, you have to deal with people, But then I'm thankful to God that I've been able to adjust very well. I would say I got used to it before now. So if I do say so myself, I've been doing it effortlessly. So I thank God. Yes.
Yeah. No, you got to give yourself a pat on the back when
Yes. It's not been easy, but I thank God.
Yeah.
I thank God.
What's been one of the biggest challenges that you feel like you're still trying to overcome, you're still trying to adjust to, specifically now, as you moved from being a senator's wife, and senators are a bit more private, but now as a governor's wife, it's very, very public. And what's one challenge that you're still trying to adjust and really trying to adapt to?
Okay, so like I had my twin girls in December 2019. And then the mandate was restored back to us in January 2020. So I had to deal with the newborn, the twins, and then I had to deal with the calls, the text messages, and I was in Canada at the time. I had to deal with time difference, winter, a lot of things. And I came back to Nigeria a little before the lockdown. So coming back and trying to adjust, then the lockdown started. It was very challenging because I had to think of my husband, who was then in a way dealing with the whole situation, scared. You don't even know what's going to happen, uncertainty, And then at the same time, I was trying to balance motherhood and the new status. But I'm grateful to God for my husband, who was supportive, my family, my friends, and my amazing colleagues. Like the first ladies have been so amazing. They've been encouraging. And then some other first ladies from the other states, and then my staff. So I've been able to find a balance between motherhood and work, even though I haven't fully resumed, but then I've been able to balance the two.
Yeah. And I know that, First Lady, it's not an elected position, but there are a lot of expectations.
It doesn't come with a manual. Yes, there's a lot of expectations.
Yes. And there are a lot of expectations, and there's in so many ways people hope that there's a first lady will be there to really be a stirring for the governor or whichever position, whether it's president, and kind of just shedding light on a lot of issues that have to do with women's rights. What's your take on that, and how do you plan on navigating your, role as the First Lady?
Okay, for now, I've been looking at what my predecessors have done,
Right.
and the positive things they've done, and I'm looking at continuity,
Okay.
And also I've been consulting with the relevant stakeholders in my state.
Okay.
And I don't just want to start a project for project's sake.
Right.
I want to do something. I want to have an impact. I want to leave footprints, But basically, I'm going to focus on maternal and newborn death rates, amongst others. There are a couple of things I want to do, but let's just leave it at the maternal and newborn death rates and all.
Right.
Yeah.
And why that focus? What is it about that initiative that's
In Imo
important to you?
State, there are a lot of the death rate is too high.
Yeah.
There are a lot of women that don't take care of themselves when they're pregnant. There are a lot of young girls that take in and they can't even sort themselves out. And then you see a case where some people give birth in their homes or even in the hospitals, and they don't have the proper the healthcare can take care of them, or so the death rate is high. So I'm looking at working on that, educating these women and the young girls, to take care of themselves when they're pregnant, and then
Right.
to
make sure that especially that they have the opportunity to continue education, because we also know how important education is, even despite the fact that you might have had a child out of wedlock. We, especially for us that are younger, we've kind of seen a Nigeria that's quite decayed. There's been a slow decline in so many different ways. Despite that, Nigerians are still resilient and entrepreneurial. But we've kind of experienced this whole sometimes some people are experiencing strikes, whether some people are experiencing, the bad roads and all of that. So we go into politics with a different mindset. At least that's the hope for us that are younger. How do you feel like your view and the way you see the political sphere, does it differ from the people who are older than you in your space? Do you feel like it's a different type of way that you address and deal with issues that have to do with politics and governance?
Not really. Not really. The thing is, it has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with a political party one comes from. I think another thing is being passionate about something.
Right.
So basically, the policies are the most important things. So if we have policies in each state, and people know that this policies this is what it is, and this is what it is. So if you have to do something bad, then you have to pay. You have to be able to accept the consequences, and you have to accept the consequences. So our people are our priority, and then good governance too. So that's my take on that.
We talk about governance all the time, and in so many ways the question is, how do you govern people in this context and in this day and age, especially with technology and social media? For example, I know that a few weeks ago you had a protest in Imo State that had to do with the issue of rape and gender-based violence. So tell us a little bit about that, please.
Okay, so in Imo State now, first off, I would appreciate the governors for the state of emergency on gender-based violence. And in Imo State, we are working on domesticating the VAPP Act. The House of Assembly has been shut down for a while. So once they resume,
Right.
we will start working on that.
Yeah.
And the Child's Right Act has been domesticated by the past administration, and I applaud them for that. And some organizations have come together in Imo to form a committee on ending violence against women and girls. And some of these organizations are the Ministry of Gender and Vulnerable Persons in Imo State, the Alliances for Africa, Child Protection Network, National Human Rights Commission, FIDA, the media, the National Orientation Agency, the National Council for Women, police, public relation officers, the Indiezes representing the 3 zones in Imo State, the Girls
Okay.
Guide, Hausa Community, Noble
Wow.
Ladies, and other civil society
Yeah,
organizations in Imo
yeah.
State. So together we organized the march that held on the 17th of June against rape and gender-based violence. So,
Okay.
and then the Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum, we've had 2 meetings, and we've agreed that we'll meet every other month to talk about this whole matter. And we have an action plan, which I'm sure the other first ladies who have
Yeah, we
come to
have.
speak before a year spoke about it. So that's it. So hopefully, by God's grace, once the House of Assembly in Imo State resumes, we'll domesticate the VAPP Act.
Based on your experience, you talked a little bit about all these civil societies that have come together to really push this act. What's the general, feeling, and what's the general feedback that you've kind of heard or felt based on what people think about these acts in the state?
Honestly, it's been very positive. It's been
Okay.
very, very positive. Warm feedback. Everybody wants to help, Even the men around, a lot of them have come up. They want to help us, So I'm happy. I'm happy about the positive feedback I've gotten so far.
We always talk a little bit about the power of social media when it comes to pushing a lot of agendas that has to do with, women's rights and women issues. How important do you think it is to kind of teach women's rights in schools to younger girls? Do you think that do we need that?
It is very, very important. That's one of the action plans we in the Governor's Wives Forum have come up with, because we need to teach our young boys, we need to teach our young girls, It starts from primary school, We plan on going out to the schools, talking to them, having a safe place for them to come out and let us know this is what is going on, Speaking to people, not to judge like these victims, having a safe place so they can come up and speak and say, whenever these things happen, So basically, education is very important. We're also working on rape kits in schools, healthcare, communities. So when these things happen, you don't just go home. You either use a rape care kit or you go straight to the healthcare,
Right.
you go straight to the hospitals so that you first see a doctor and all that, We are also working on, aside from education in this gender-based, aside from schools, we are also working on talking to the traditional leaders, the police, and all the necessary parties involved,
Right.
so that and then to change the mindsets of people.
Right.
You don't have to judge someone or stigmatize someone because she is raped or because something happened to them, So
it's interesting because in talking
and
on
then also boys get raped. So
that is
also
true.
we also have to speak to boys to speak up too, and teach boys to respect girls. So it's also a two-way. It's not just girls. It's a two-way
It's interesting that you mentioned the thing about boys getting raped, and I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was talking to them a little bit about this, that you'll hear a lot of young, you'll hear guys who will tell you about their first sexual experience, and they'll say, oh, they were 10, they were 11, they were 12.
Some younger
and
even.
it's done in this pride way. And I always tell them when they share this with me, I'm like, that's not a sexual experience. You were taken advantage of. You were raped, essentially, because no way at that age would you know what exactly it is that you're doing or be able to give consent to something like that. I want to talk a little bit about gender-based violence, and I want to talk about, domestic violence and how we can adopt a lot of this idea of speaking out when it comes to domestic violence, because I feel like that's a whole nother topic that we haven't really begun to address, because there's a lot of shame and a lot of silence culture when it comes to talking about domestic violence.
Yeah, the thing is, our culture and the society plays a very big part in this, For the longest time, like, people are raped and a lot of people don't see it as a problem or as a crime. And then these cases most times are not reported. And then the ones that are reported, they're either judged or even asked, what were you wearing?
Right.
Why were you there? Why did you go to the man's house? They are blamed.
Right.
Yes. So that's why it's advisable for all the states to adopt laws and acts that touch on these issues. And also, our mindsets need to really, really change, because we need to make women feel that they have the world is a safe place for them.
Yeah.
So when these things occur, they can come out and speak up. And then also, the perpetrators of this act should know that they will be punished.
There has to be
they can't go.
right?
Yes. So that's why everyone is trying to push so that this VAPP act can be domesticated, because when the perpetrators know that, oh, if I rape, I'm going to go to life, which I feel is not even the best punishment for them, honestly. And then also the sex offender register. When you know that if you rape somebody, Ekiti and Lagos, I think they started, yes. So when you know that once I rape someone, my name goes up in this register and everybody in the world sees this, I think it would be better.
Yeah. You just said, you said something about you don't think, this punishment is the best. What would you like to see happen to people that are convicted, of rape?
They should die, honestly. They should die, to be honest. Because, you're messing someone, death sentence.
I was talking to someone today, and I was talking about the idea of rape being so similar to murder. And they were like, honestly, they don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I said it is. In so many ways.
Yeah, some people never get over that.
Yeah. Some people do not get over it.
But because it's still the life of the victims, literally.
You do. You steal the person's soul, mind, spirit, and you damage their body. But I definitely feel like we're advancing and we're moving forwards towards a place where there is a lot more opportunity to talk about this issue of sexual violence. And, a lot of Nigerians are so entrepreneurial. What do you think can be done to kind of support people that are entrepreneurial?
Continue.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we're looking at skill acquisition program to help young people, and also to to have an enabling environment for all these things. Yes, just to encourage them and all that.
And also in terms of technology, I've noticed a lot that there seems to be a limited usage of technology when it comes to empowerment and when it comes to skills acquisition. I know how many hours I spend on social media, online, consuming everything, and there seems to be like a tiny little gap. And also with the creative industry, is that something that you would also like to see a lot more people dabble into in terms of becoming entrepreneurial on their own, when it doesn't have to do with like business and goods and things like that?
Okay, so in Imo, we are trying to encourage e-governance. We're trying to encourage young people to venture into a lot of things, because like I also said, the enabling environment is important. And then we have these IT programs. We are working on these IT programs by the Ministry of Skill Acquisition of the states. So I'm sure after Corona, the whole pandemic, we could start Yes, and do more in that aspect.
Because when I was preparing for this interview, I did a little bit of research and just trying to get a little bit of background. But like, what do you think? What's a big misconception about you?
People have judged me without knowing who I am.
Right.
Yes, so that's it. They've judged me without knowing me. They've judged my husband without even knowing him. So it's crazy.
Yes.
I just
Stories
tell
common.
myself that there are people who know me, so it's enough. And there are people who love me for who I am. So that's all I need.
Pretty much, how do you plan to stay grounded while you're, in this role? How do you plan to stay grounded?
Okay, first off, there are stereotypes attached to people in politics.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, well, this one has come with their lives, let them just do and go, But then I'm here to support my husband while advocating for women.
Right.
And it's obvious that he's running a governance which involves women. Because if you check from people he has made commissioners,
Mm-hmm.
SAs, SSAs, 60% are women. So like I'm not going to come here and say this is what I'm going to do, this is what I won't do. I pray I'll do well. I hope and I pray I'll do well. But then I have a blueprint that has been prepared by a team of smart individuals.
Like, how effective do you think the justice system is in Nigeria? Like, just from your experience as a lawyer?
I think they're doing their best. And I think they could do more. They can do more. They can do more. And then they also need...
I said, in what ways would you like to see them do more?
They need the support of the executive and the national assemblies. They need to review some laws, and also in their financial aspects, they need to encouraged. Yes, and there should be a lot of reforms. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you specifically on the financial aspect, because I've been to, a few courts before, and, sometimes you see the way lawyers, you kind of see how improperly and poorly dressed they are, and you realize that for the work that they're being expected to do, the remuneration is really abysmal, especially public defenders, and this is for criminal cases. I used to visit the Ikeja court quite often, and you're kind of wondering, it's just similar to it's similar to doctors and lawyers, right? Here we find that they're poorly remunerated, and you have an expectation that these people are supposed to serve. But the question is, how are they supposed to do that when remuneration is just not encouraging,
That's why I said they need more help from the federal government, even the state government too, and hopefully and by God's grace, it will be done.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. So I wanted to find out, and this was just something that I've been thinking about a little bit earlier when we were talking in terms of our last conversation, and you talked a little bit about, how you met your husband and everything like that. But what was it about him that really stood out to you that made you feel like this is the person I want to get married to?
Okay. I had just broken up with my ex when I had known my husband for years, but we never dated. We just knew. So I had just broken up with my ex when, out of the blues, we spoke, and then he said to me that he knew someone who was looking for a wife. So I never thought it was him, But then what attracted me to him when eventually he said to me he wanted to marry me was, I wake up, he asked me one day, what time do I wake up? And I told him 6 a.m. So he said to me that each time I wake up, we have to speak. So one will pray before I start my day. So every day he calls me by 6 a.m. and we pray. And then before I go to bed, we pray. And as busy as he was, he always used to have my time. He always had my time. Always had my time, So I love that he was God-fearing. I love that he was family, that he is God-fearing. He is still family-oriented. He's a very caring and loving man.
What was it? Were you nervous about being with
Hmm?
someone that was much older than you? I said, were you nervous about being with someone that's much older than you?
Yeah, at first. Yes, at first I thought of what would people say. You know, I
Mm,
said, what would people say? Everybody will say, oh, you married this man for money. You know, and
right,
then I prayed about it, um in my spirit knew he was. I just decided to give it a trial because I haven't had a man who was so God fearing and treated me the way he was treating me then and still is treating me now. So yes. So at that
right.
point I didn't care what anyone had to say. Yeah.
Mm,
I didn't care what
mm.
anyone had to say. Yes.
And in terms of kids, are you guys any plans for any more? I know you have four, but
No, no, I have done, I'm done.
oh my gosh, you're like, it's over, it's a
Yes,
wrap.
it's over.
We've actually come to the end of our interview and our conversation. Thank you so much for, taking time out of your very busy schedule. Being a mom is not a joke, especially of very young kids. And thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the next few years while you're in this position. We're watching, we're hoping, we're going to keep you accountable as well and remind you, that you are so many ways representation of many of us that are always hopeful for our politicians and anybody that is in a position of influence or power. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you,
All right,
Balari.
thank
God
you.
bless.
All right, bye.
Bye.